My name is Tyler David, and you're watching Field of Dreams on ACTN.
Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David, I'm your host. This is after Christmas. Head into the new year. Happy New Year in advance to you viewers. Let me take time to introduce the panel. What are you smiling at, Jefferson? This guy. Alvin Henderson, welcome to St. Alvin.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be here, and I'm hoping to get new clothes for the new year.
Oh, yeah. Well, the viewers didn't pick up on that, but you already picked up on it. Okay. Next up is Larry Joseph. Welcome to the show, Larry.
New Year resolution, new clothes.
New clothes. And Jefferson George, welcome to the set, Jefferson.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Any resolution?
No, more the same.
Okay. Yeah, viewers, we kind of be short on clothes right now. Guys, I want to talk about some signature moves in football. Over the years or decades or whatever that we've seen. And, just lighten up. It's a new year, so coming, so we're going to get excited about football. We have a new TTFA and all of this kind of good stuff. So I know you guys are probably lost right now in what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give you one example of a signature move, and that was Leroy Span take his left foot, drag the ball, and bring it back, and have everybody going all over the place. And now it has some little kids who is only 2 years old or 3 years old. Let's talk about the spanner. And what is the spanner? That's just what that one move. Mm-hmm. And so that I consider that a signature move. Who wants to expand? Alvin, you want to expand anything on signature moves? Or you?
Oh, no, I have quite a few. Some I've tried myself because I've seen other people doing it. Well, somebody who people may not know about, but I saw him down here still in Paris. Was one of the South footballers, played with Spitfire, a good club footballer, and still in Paris, mastered what we used to call the Boomsy trap.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
The ball would go up in the air, and when everybody would be expecting Sterling to bring the ball down with the inside of his foot or his thigh or his chest, Sterling would allow the ball and sit on the ball.
Wow.
And the ball would be dead, and he'd turn and face you ready to go again. And still in Paris, I looked at him trying to do it and tried to copy it myself. There was another move that over years that I tried to develop that I don't know where I'd seen it, and I had probably seen it on television with a Brazilian team, where if you were given a through ball and the ball was not quite up to the velocity that it was necessary to drop in front of you, you were looking for the chip ball over your head. What you did was you slowed up and just bent your back and allowed it to hit your back and fall in front of you without turning around to trap.
You're serious?
Yeah, so that we did a lot when we were in college, and a few times I tried it in a game, and once or twice it came off, and you know, where you would bend down, let it hit your back, and go forward without actually turning around to pick up the ball. Now, the coaches probably will go crazy because they would want you to do the basic thing. But that was something that you know, I saw and I did and whatnot. One I would say that from the greatest in the world at the time, Pele, I saw a signature move, and I saw him actually do it on the field of play, where he would, I didn't think that it was possible, but I saw him do it more than once, where he would come up to face you, and with the ball, and as you're about to tackle him, he'd kick the ball onto your foot. And the natural thing is, if the ball comes onto your foot, you stretch out to try and retrieve it, but the ball bounces back to him, and he's gone past you. That was one of his signature moves, and I've seen him do it in person, and I've seen him do it on film. Another one that he did, if you had your feet straight together, he would try that one. If your feet were slightly apart in the proper way to defend, he would bounce the ball off of the inside of this foot and get a wall pass going the other way.
For the defender's foot.
Or for the defender.
If your legs are open.
If your legs are open, you bounce it off the back foot.
Like if you're playing with him.
And yes, and you take it. He'll take it going to. And I saw him do that more than once. And those were two of his signature moves that I saw him.
Larry, you seen any?
Well,
Or you've done a lot of it?
well, I wouldn't talk about me. I would let somebody else talk about me if I did have any. But in my playing days, Philbert Jones as a striker had a signature move where he would be running down the wing, mostly the left side, right? And he would drop his shoulder without losing pace and have the defender continuing and just cut back on his right foot and totally eliminate that defender. You know, it was on a wet field is something to behold because defenders would be skating all over the place, you know. And he would do that time after time and would always get through with it, you know. So that was something that people used to look forward with Pavo when he did it. Also, one of my other teammates, Adrian Fonrose, who was blessed with blistering pace, he would take off. And the defender would go with him, and he would slow down deliberately. And as soon as the defender slowed, he would just take off with some tremendous pace in a 2 to 3 yards distance that would totally take him away from the defender, you know. And defenders knew this, he would do this. But the human nature is always somebody slow down, I slow down. And he used to get you with it at all times, and he had so much pace. Well, Stevie would appreciate forwards with pace, but he never looked like he had the pace until you saw how he was just accelerating away from the defender, you know. But Adrian would do that time and time again. Adrian also had another signature move with his head. We call him saddle head or bullet head because he was able to head the ball both with the front of his head and the back of his head with the same velocity and accuracy. I've never seen anybody in the local game able to do it as Adrian Fonrose. He was phenomenal with those signature moves. I would go to the greatest player I have seen, Russell Latapy. Russell had unlimited signature moves. One of the things that I have mentioned to people, I have never seen Russell control a pass, receive a pass, and not with that same ball turn to go in the direction he wants to go. To the casual observer, you will not even pick it, you know. But Russell has the uncanny ability to control a ball in the direction he wants to go. You know, another thing with Russell, I don't know if it's a signature move. I have played with Russell and I have seen Russell play. I have never seen Russell Latapi on the ground, all. Whether he was tackled and fell, whether he tripped in a muddy ground, I've never seen Russell Latapi on the ground.
Well, he's so low to the ground.
It doesn't
You're
matter.
already.
I've never seen the greatest balance I've seen with a footballer is Russell Latapi.
Right.
You know, it amazes me with him.
The same used to be said of the late Claude Maurice. They used to say everybody in muddy pants in Skinner Park and Claude Maurice still in a white pants.
But
Before Jeff goes, there's that guy who played for Jamaica called Paul Tiga Davis. The doc knows him.
Yeah.
The first time we met him was at club level.
Yeah.
Trinidad
So
went to
ball
play
and-
them. But
yeah.
when we came, the return game in Guacara, he did something what the doc was mentioning. Cushioned the ball at the back of his neck and ran with it.
Ran with it. Yeah.
I've never seen it before. It was unbelievable. Cushioned the ball at the back of his neck
And ran past defense.
Run with the ball at the back of his neck.
But this guy does that now. He plays now. He plays beach soccer.
Well, I'm not
Woodley?
too familiar
Woodley?
with too many
What's his name?
beach
Woodley?
football.
Showtime or something?
Showtime Woodley. Woodley.
Yeah.
Yeah, but beach football has a tremendous skill level involved.
Yeah.
A lot of it you cannot transfer onto a regular game.
Right.
When we saw Tigat, Doc, you actually saw him do that too,
Yes,
right?
I've seen
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
I remember it
people
as you just
screamed.
mentioned his name, I remember.
Yes, yeah, that was a one
Paul
in a
Tigat
lifetime
Davis.
signature move. I've never seen anybody else do that.
I'm going to give Jefferson a chance, but watch this. He's going to say he can dive this way and turn in there and dive back. Go ahead, Jefferson. Tell me.
Actually, to dive into the wrong in the air, I believe that would be probably Lincoln's signature move. He did that quite frequently. It's somewhat in defiance of physics, but you know, yeah, he was able to do that. Since we're on goalkeepers, Ingita with the scorpion kick, that would be one.
What the
Signature.
scorpion kick is?
You never seen it?
Well,
Yes,
yeah.
He actually did it in a real game.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had a name for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good, a
that's
scorpion
it, yeah. Yeah, he did that with eccentric goalkeeper.
Yes.
I played against Arnold Warwicker, who would have popularized the drag, you know, and players would be expecting it, and that's the thing about
Still getting it.
you know it's coming.
What he did?
The drag where you carry the ball in an arc with his foot and
okay.
take it up, carry it to you and take it back from you.
Yeah.
You know, he was really, really good. And he would do it in
was
slow motion,
fantastic at
you know,
that, yeah.
and have the
And
on your
embarrass
heels, you know,
defenders.
and
Oh.
then go past you. He was really, really good at
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You know, so
Arnold was
Yeah, those are-
fantastic with that. Yeah.
some of those are my.
What about and Larry was talking about front rows slowing down and then taking off, which forwards we do that just to get the defenders, especially when they have even pace with you, slow them and then you go again.
Mm-hmm.
But Archie used to run at full pace, put his front foot on the ball, and the defender would stop, and I see defenders actually stop abrupt, like Flintstone, right? And then on the way, same motion, just drag it with the other foot and he's gone again. So this is Archie and Jeff Lewis going down the field, and then Archie and Jeff comes. And then Archie takes it and go and then get back behind him. That was, to me, was one of the best signature moves I've seen. And then there was also Leroy Delion going down the field with the ball. Sometimes the ball is a little running away from him, actually. So he has to reach and put his foot on it. Person comes and kick, falls over, and then he just push it like he said, all right, let's go again. And start.
I've
I
heard
see
about that
He did
delivery.
Sedley
Yeah.
Joseph,
Yeah.
who was a big, strong,
Yeah.
great player in Pompona.
I saw Leroy because when we were in Washington off season and whatnot, I practiced a lot with him, played a lot with him. I saw him do it almost every practice. And even though you know it's coming,
You can't do nothing.
You can't prevent it because it's so natural if you're running past him to hook the ball. And when you hook the ball, that momentum with the ball stuck in the ground, you hook it and you go flying 3 or 4 feet forward of him. And I'm sure there were more than one occasion that I was one of the persons, other than Sedley Joseph, who went flying. So he was. Leroy DeLeon had several signature moves. He used to stand up like a peacock over the ball with one foot fluttering over it. He stand up and everybody, the whole crowd really watch. And he stands up over the ball with fluttering his foot on like
Nobody did challenge.
And you dare not put your foot there. Because the first person to put their foot there, he is embarrassed you and he's gone. But I'm trying to, I don't know, you might remember, and I'm not sure if it's Dick Furlong or somebody else had this move where the ball would be coming at a top pace. It may be him or Tony Douglas. And he would hit the ball, undercut the ball, whap, and the ball would just spin and go up in the air. Because when you see your foot coming like this to kick the ball, you would think that ball is being propelled somewhere. But you just hit the ball would spin up in the air,
backspin.
and then your backspin, and then you
come
catch
back
it
right there.
And it's one of those two guys. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it is.
Wow.
When I played with, I just remembered another move. I played with an African that player named Charlie from. What was his last name? I can't remember his last, but everybody knew him as Charlie at Howard University. And he had a great move. Ball would come up in the air, and your defender would be coming with him to try and get the ball. And what he would do, he would put his hands out.
Like he's going to catch it?
Like he's going to catch the ball. And if you're a defender and you're coming in and you see a man coming to catch the ball, what's your natural instinct?
He would stand up.
You're going to stand up, and then he would just move his hands away and trap it. And he would do that time and time again and get that 3 seconds or 2 seconds of space, or 1 yard of space, so that he could trap the ball and then he's coming at you. And I've seen him do that. You know it's coming. He put his hands up and he catch everybody, natural thing, and then he catch the ball. So, players come up with, things that...
creative,
all kinds of creative things that, and I'm sure there are many more moves that people have seen or heard that we could continue to talk about.
Let's take a break, guys. Viewers, we'll be right back.
Things are too structured. Players are put into environment and told what they should do, not exposed to experiences and see, what they come up with. And that's the way that, even in your time, you would have been allowed to develop by play.
We, from those encounters together, and this was a North-South game to open the season.
So the team might be playing well, as we always say with Trinidad and Tobago.
Futsal did that great for me.
Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams and ACTN. My name is Steve David. I'm your host. Welcome back, viewers. Guys, so let's continue on some signature moves. And you guys was saying in the break about how the spanner move was not created, let's say created, or not invented. Probably Rivellino invented it, but always was created on spanner. There was a takeoff for Rivellino, who had a signature move. He had a couple of signature moves, Rivellino. He had one where he walked over the ball, and then when you go in, then he comes back here with it, left foot. And always I said, Alvin Cornell and Rivellino look so much alike on the field, and they did so many things the same way. So Alvin is like a carbon copy of Rivellino.
One person I just remembered was Bert Neptune.
Right.
Great dribbler. And I saw Bert Neptune representing Trinidad Skinner Park against Suriname and picked up a ball facing the corner flag, and two Suriname defenders converge on him. And I just saw Bert Neptune just do his foot so. Wow. And the next thing I see is them two Suriname defenders hogging up the corner flag and Bert Neptune going on.
Yeah.
He was a great dribbler, and he had that signature move where he was able to just do his leg something and just befuddle defenders and go past them. He was a very, very, very exciting player. Just sad how he came. His ending wasn't the most pleasant of ending, but in his playing days, Bert Neptune was a defender's nightmare and a spectator's enjoyment. Doc, you saw him play?
I saw Bert Neptune play quite a few times, and unfortunately had to be at the game where the injury that eventually led to his end of his football career happened up at in Arima.
Right.
In Arima, a horrible, horrific injury where he had his leg broken and severed the nerve that controlled the muscles in the foot.
But
And
was a really
but Bert
player
Neptune,
to look at, you know.
when we look back at the great dribblers in Trinidad and Tobago, and people who are older than I am will tell me, Alvin, you haven't seen dribblers yet, because they will tell me about Matthew Nunes and Squeaky Hines and Torshell Zott. And I say, well, I can't go back so far. If I'm reincarnated, I might want to come back. But I can tell you that there were great dribblers throughout the decades in Trinidad and Tobago football history, except now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except now.
Yes.
I'm looking for great dribblers now.
None.
But Bert Neptune was one of those dribblers who you could, clear a path for him and tell him, go past
ahead,
these two players, and he would easily do that.
He would
Why do
excite
you
the
think
crowd.
we not having the great dribblers like we did back in the day?
Because the coaches are spoiling them at a very young age and not
Coaches.
encouraging them to
express themselves.
express
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
The coaches are over-coaching at a young age.
Yeah.
I think it's
that's right.
coward coaching too, because
Coaches.
you have to be, you have to have an interest in developing that particular ability, right? And of course, which is very useful to have players who can, strong one-on-one, and even outnumbered, in possession of the ball to move past them. But as you say, it's not something that the coaches take time to harness. And if you are a coach who thinking about safety and all that, because obviously in developing that talent, you're going to lose the ball sometimes, right? But I think that's a part that is lacking at the development level, to encourage players to.
Sure. There is no dribbling in the game anymore to excite people to come out to look at the game. You know what I mean? It's the game is overcoached. That's the problem with the game. It's overcoached, man. Back in our days, back in my days, back in your days, there was just a huge freedom of expression by the footballers on the field. And that translated into exciting games, excited supporters and everything. And the whole atmosphere in the ground was one of tremendous excitement. But now, and I can say this because the proof is in the pudding and the eating. There ain't no dribblers now, and there ain't no spectators in the stands.
No.
Right.
You understand?
No entertainment.
No entertainment.
Is entertainment.
And I believe sport is entertainment. Some people say, well, yes, but it's about results and whatever. Give me entertainment.
And I come and see you.
Yes. People paying the money to go look at a sport want to see somebody in that arena that could get them excited.
Right.
You go to a basketball game, you want to see somebody who doing something different from the rest of the people. You go to football, you want to see somebody do something different to make me feel, well, boy, I feel I could go back again. But now the game is overcoached.
Right. I listened to Johan Cruyff talk about what was responsible for that lack of expression and that lack of creativity that you would see. And that was one of the things where he described things are too structured. Players are put into environment and told what they should do, not exposed to experiences and see, what they come up with. And that's the way that, even in your time, you would have been allowed to develop by playing football among other people, small-sided games, which at the time, you didn't know a small-sided game. It was just not a full field or something like that. But now even small-sided games are structured. You have to be there, And from a very young age, players are, ingrained into this very organized, very
Rigid
restrictive
structure
type of football where
that eliminates
all their
creativity.
movements are choreographed, so to speak, where the room for expression and for creativity is stifled,
You mentioned Johan Cruyff, and he had some signature move on him, and he used to cut the ball behind his leg and stuff.
The Cruyff turn.
Yeah.
And it's still considered, it's still called the Cruyff turn.
Yeah.
After all
it's,
these years.
It's actually coached
Yes.
in a lot of camps. I mean, I have
Cruyff
done some camps in the States, and they actually teach that to the kids.
He's such a great player. He reminds me of Bobby Sukram in how
The languid way that they play.
in the way they play.
Yeah.
And so smart in the head.
Yeah, I miss that. For me personally, I miss going to look at a football game at all levels, college league and senior level, and do not see any one person that excites me to want me to come back to want to look at the game. I'm looking at the colleges over the last few years, few games that I would look at, and sometimes I would struggle to maintain interest over the 90 minutes because the game across the world has become so coached and commercialized where results is everything, that for me, I consider myself to be a purist. I don't see some of the things that I grew up on, so sad.
Alvin, you ever seen anybody trap the ball, chest trap, like Richard D'Souza? You ever seen Richard D'Souza?
Oh,
St. Mary's?
I played with Richard D'Souza. My first year at St. Mary's was with Richard D'Souza. Unfortunately, he developed appendicitis after about the third game, and that was the end of Richard D'Souza for that year. But I saw Richard D'Souza play. I played with him, and responsible for Richard D'Souza, and not only Richard D'Souza, but many of us developing the ability to control the ball was Paul Young. But Richard D'Souza, because of the meat on his bones, he was overweight. He was chubby.
Is that the same cricketer guy?
Cricketer guy.
Wow.
And Richard D'Souza was an excellent cricketer. Should have played for West Indies.
Yeah.
Up to now, some of the English stalwarts want to know why he never played for West Indies. He was chubby, but could sprint. But on a football field, looked like a lazy player. But Richard D'Souza, anywhere the ball was put into him, and that was because of his working with Paul Young. It hit his frame,
And
it could be anywhere.
Stuck.
Leg, his arm, anywhere it hits, it would
falls.
stick.
Wow.
And the ball would be dead instantly. And dead that he's already in position to push off a brilliant pass to you. And my first goal ever in secondary school football, Richard D'Souza got a ball from deep, chest trap, turn, and chipped the ball for me to score against Gali and Fatima. 1-0 on Fatima ground. We got 6 that day, but at least
I'm glad you're putting that part.
we got 6 that day. But Richard D'Souza was one of the best chest trappers at the ball. And a lot of it, perhaps, as I said, because of his frame. Because of his frame
The
that he
amount
had.
of fat.
And a little extra girth on him, that ball went dead immediately. And you could actually hear it flap. And I could hear it even now as we speak. But he was an excellent trapper of the ball. But as I played against Brazilians, the Santos team, who were excellent trappers of the ball as well. And I was reminding, we talked about this before, maybe here, I'm not sure, but I was reminding Lincoln the other day and Victor when I was up there recently, how one of the things that I used to do is come blindside of somebody who is about to trap the ball in
yeah,
defense.
just pinch
So
it
they
off.
come in to trap the ball, and you come blindside here, and so you don't come in too quick
Yes.
because they won't trap the ball, they'll
Yeah,
head the
yeah,
ball. But you allow them to trap, right?
Come like
And then you pinch the ball off of
Just
them and
pinch
you
the
go.
ball off of them.
And this Brazilian defender, play Santos defender, they had from the World Club Championship when Santos won. Ball's coming into him, and I'm trying my signature move. And what he did was he did his signature move. He changed from going up a chest strap in the air. He chested it down quickly to his feet and flicked it over my head and caught it on the other side. And then I said, Alvin, go back and learn the game. I said, I am now learning how to play. I'm now learning how to play this game. In essence, he didn't have to tell me. It was perhaps in a different language, but he was telling me, little boy, don't run in here stupid, or else you'll be embarrassed. And that was his signature move.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I haven't seen anybody do that. Change from here, quickly down there, flick it over your head, and catch it here. Unbelievable signature move from some of the Brazilian players that we played against.
And now we're talking about our guys don't dribble as much and so
Yeah.
on. The Brazilians, man, they're not as skillful as they used to be.
Yeah, that's correct. That's
So
correct.
what is changing this world like that? Because those guys, the ball was on their foot and they can do anything with it.
A lot of the Brazilian national team is made up from players that play in the European leagues. Very few homegrown players get
Right.
onto the senior team. So I think that that is what was responsible for the Brazilian style of football moving away from what we grew up seeing them play to a more Eurocentric brand. They would get the results, but we won't get the excitement as we used to back in the day. And I mean, it's reflected even in our local game here now. Yeah, it is sad because unfortunately we have seen the transition from back then to now.
Yeah.
You know, so we talk about it in negative terms because we expect that it would be better than when we playing and what we saw, but now unfortunately it is not so. So for us spectators and more so as former players, it's a little more disappointing for us to see where we have gotten to, you know. Unfortunately, I hear so many people who used to leave their homes and go to look at local games say to me, Larry, you know how long me going to see a game in Trinidad, boy? It had nothing again for me to go and see. You know, I see Steve David, I see De Leon. You know what I mean? And they would call these names and they would compare them to the local players now. And for them, there's absolutely no incentive for them to leave the house to go and see now. And that is sad for me. It's sad because I believe all sport need to have spectators in the stand to look at the players. You know, I just always make the comment when you look at the local pro league games, when you look at a stadia, the two top teams in the country are playing and there's less than 50 people in the stands looking on. You know. Anyhow, let me don't get to.
Jeff is our coach, so Jeff could tell us why they don't spend enough time on not the basic, but skill. Because long ago, the players were very skillful compared to what I'm seeing now.
Yeah, we're talking about mentioning the Brazil players. The Brazil players are leaving Brazil early as well. So you find they're growing up with that. You remember Everton in the last Copa America there. You know, he was, and again, growing up in Brazil, he looked more Brazilian than the other players in terms of the willingness to take on people and, you know, ready to dribble. One-on-one, he's taking you on, you know, down the wing. And I think it does have to do with coaching. As I mentioned, the late Cruyff, he was talking about that in relation to the Dutch players, who as well were, you know, seen as the Brazilians of Europe. And even if you look at their development, they've become so highly structured and organized that there is no room, as you were saying, for that that
Innovation.
individual brilliance, you know, that individual player to take on one-on-one and things like that. And again, it has to do with early development as well, because coaches want players to have a strong tactical understanding and their understanding of the game. But I think we are doing it, sacrificing the individual brilliance of the players. And it has
But
to
I
be something
think-
that we have to teach.
I think it's not so
Or
much
encourage.
coaching, you know, because now thinking about it, we used to be in the parking lot on the street playing football, doing all these kind of stuff, uncoached.
Yes.
No,
uncoached.
nobody, no structure.
Uncoached.
We just
Yeah,
having a good time. Now, they don't do that. They sit on their phone and they play
Right.
games and they look at. Maybe that is.
But
part
that's
of
it,
the
Steve. But
issue.
that's what I'm saying. So it comes from that type of ability will come or will be developed in an unstructured environment. In a structured environment, even me as an attacking player, I know where my defensive pressure is going to come from. It's so scripted, as I say. You know, I know I'm playing against a back four. I'm a wide player. I know who I'm coming. You know, it's very, very structured. Now, somebody who can. One key component of being able to dribble is being able to react to pressure quickly, because you have to be able to see the pressure and then move the ball in the opposite direction. But if even your opposition in a training environment is structured, then for you, in one way it becomes much easier, right? As opposed to if you're playing in that unstructured parking lot, a sweat as we call it. No, it causes you to bring out a little bit more creativity.
Let's talk a little bit more.
The other thing to
Let's pick you up as soon as I get back.
Okay.
Really. Viewers, we'll be right back after the show.
You have two teams of players who trying to out-invent each other, and so the games were filled and packed with excitement, with good technical ability, uncoached or self-coached, as I may say. And if you were to
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Okay, welcome back. Alvin, you were saying?
Yeah, the other thing too, I was saying, it's because of results and the fact that at youth level coaching, everybody is looking now to have good results. That you must win. Winning at youth level coaching should be,
Abandoned.
I wouldn't say abandoned, but it should not be the most important thing at youth level coaching. Youth level coaching is about developing the player to be the best that he or she can be. And too much is focused now on winning. So the coaches don't want to take any chances. So if a defender has a ball and he picks up a ball, the first thing they want to do, kick it out, pass it. Whereas that player would say, hey, I could dribble this fella here. That would be his, if the coach wasn't shouting on the sideline, you would see him dribble and if it's successful, he gets some feedback from that and may try it again until he perfects it. But there's too much emphasis on winning, especially at the younger ages. Too much emphasis.
And after the game, the kids don't really care who wins. You ever notice? They're going to McDonald's, they're having and they don't care about who wins the game, but the coaches do.
Yeah.
if you don't create the environment for inventiveness, then it will not come to fruition, because in our days when we had absolutely no limits, because we always try to see what we could do when we were home by ourselves, or if you're in the road playing small goal against your partner. The idea behind the competition is to always to outdo him on a skill level, to do something that he can't do, to outmaneuver him or whatever. But it redounded in you honing your skills in terms of dribbling and the other aspects of the game, so that when you met up with other players like-minded like you in the community, you have two teams of players who trying to out-invent each other, and so the games were filled and packed with excitement, with good technical ability, uncoached or self-coached, as I may say. And if you were to fast forward some of these games into the present structured game now, you'd realize a lot of times we were doing the things that present-day coaches now coaching players to do. We just developed it and picked it up because that is what surrounded us at the time. Because everybody was so interested in outdoing the other person that it assisted unconsciously the other person to improve themselves. So that's why you had so many competitive and close encounters and exciting encounters, because even though we wanted to beat the opposition, it was also important to beat them in a certain way.
Right.
So that's lacking now.
Yeah, back to what Steve mentioned about why we're not producing those players, and I would take the viewers to a discussion I was listening to with some youngsters, and they were talking about they did this and they won this game, and you see how I thought it's going on. It's like these guys really taking their football seriously. It's FIFA they were talking about, them hand games. And no, after listening, I was excited. I said, why these kids and some footballers? But that's the thing now. The thing about it is now you have this invention that they are playing games indoors. They are playing games, virtual games, whereas our enjoyment, our recreation would have been actually going and playing it. Now, when you ask some of these kids, even these kids who play at intercollegiate level, they don't sweat.
Yeah.
They don't sweat. They only train when they come
to school.
And that's unbelievable, because as much as we would have trained with our teams, when you go home, you have your sweat with your community, or you're playing the road, and this type of things. And so you look at it, and really and truly, that is what you get from that. Because when they talk or they discuss things, the thing they're talking about is these video games where they play with their fingers. So what time do they have now to develop these actual skills?
Yeah, one of the coaches who I spoke to recently was saying that it's important, he feels, that we give players now their homework to do. You actually give them
football homework.
With improving basic types of skills on dribbles. So you actually give them that to do, and let them come back and show you that they have mastered that skill and whatnot. So maybe that's a modern day thing that we have to introduce.
That is so important.
So that
because I've heard it mentioned, and I believe it, I see it, that one of the difference between former players and the present day players is, as Jeff was just intimating that, we didn't used to only just play football when our team played. Outside of the team, if we used to play more football, because that's what it was for us. The passion for the game was so strong. Every free time, we would play the game, and it showed in our ability. It didn't know maybe up, because I tell people, the first time I hear the word is when, in my era, prior to my era, when talking to older players, I never hear them use that term. I could be wrong, but the only time I heard the word is it in my era.
Don't worry, we used it in our
And then afterwards, it started to be more prominent, because you really started to see players who were really, a lot of players who really wasn't up to it, even at a national level now. So that's when the word became more prominent, because at the national level, you're expecting a basic level of competence. And then you would see somebody put on the red, white, and black and didn't acquire that level. And so you would say, well, how the fella reach there, right? And I realized it's because that trend started when people started to play less outside of the team playing, and to spend more time doing other things than in the prior days when people used to spend all the time playing football, whether it's freelancing on their own or when the team trained and played.
Well, I'm hearing Alvin saying they're talking about giving you homework in football. I would have loved that. I would have said to my mom, I have homework. I need to go and play.
Not the schoolwork. Football homework would have replaced the books.
That would have been my homework.
Yeah, of course.
And it would have been mine too, because I used to spend a lot of time playing with the ball when I was home.
Right.
Even in my gallery, I would take the ball and knock it against the wall and practice something, whether it's control with my 2 feet, whether it's passing at an angle, whether it's trying to turn it in that short, small space in my gallery.
Right.
I would go downstairs, show the ball on the wall, and when it come to practice my heading, I would go out to the field, I alone on the backfield, dribbling the ball by myself, practicing all sorts of things. And I would be in my own little world and totally enjoying myself.
Because you don't have a phone.
But we talk about signature moves. I think we don't have that much time again. What Larry is just saying there, I myself did the same with a signature move of Buggy Haynes that I was trying to develop in my garage. And when I destroyed about 5 of the louvers at the time, my sister said, wait till your father returns. But my father, who was a football player, when I explained to him I was trying to show Buggy Haynes how to do the Buggy Haynes volley, he said, all right, just fix the windows.
And you see, the point has to be made because I think it's important, because I think it's true and it's factual. When we see guys like Messi and Ronaldo and all these guys who are able to do certain things consistently well above the normal average person, a lot of our local players, and I've mentioned this on this program before, only see the finished product. But they don't realize that these guys off camera do and practice hundreds of times. You know, I remember they talk about Zico. At the end of the session, they said Zico would take up to 50 penalties and would always score them. That's why in the World Cup, when he came on as a sub and Brazil got a penalty, they gave it to him, he missed.
Right.
And everybody says, the man now come on the field, how you could give him it? Because in practice, he would never miss. It so happened that So the point I'm making is that when you see the finished product, behind that finished product is a lot of hard hours of personal training that makes that part a reality. And I think a lot of our local players now are not willing to make that personal sacrifice to improve themselves as players.
Back to signature moves, and somebody who did a lot of work on their own, and again, I've learned this, is Earl Carter with that long throw, right? Going to the field in Ariba, I heard stories about him. And not only long throw, but the half volley, the drop kick from the goalkeepers was something that even today you don't see it used much on much better fields. But he was outstanding, very, very long, and was very accurate with it. Back to away from the structured game is personal development. I remember growing up, we had 2 fields home. Well, I mean, on the side of the house, to the western side of the house, and behind the house, there were 2 fields. The goalkeeping posts with bamboo, and my brother would be there just taking shots, hold the place dark, lights are come on, And, of course, we destroyed all the fruit trees to create those fields. So, that was, again, father being understanding, late father who passed recently. And that is how I developed as a player,
I remember defenders, midfield, forwards, and everybody used to be in position all the time. And then, I don't know if there was guys like Romano, Charlie Spoo, and these guys started to come deep, overlap. And that became another thing. And that became like a signature move, because now, before, fullbacks would never go. And then all of a sudden, now everybody wants to go. You remember that?
Yeah, the overlapping. The overlapping. The Brazilians first were the ones, we saw it there. And then locally, Charlie Spooner and then George Romano were
And
2 of the best
Seabro,
exponents, and Errol Seabro, 3 of the best exponents of it. But we saw it in that Brazilian team first in 66 to a lesser degree, but definitely in 1970. And everybody still remembers and I saw it again recently,
Carlos Alberto.
Carlos Alberto's
Alberto.
overlapping for Pele to give him a pass
Yeah.
at the edge of the
18,
inside the
18.
inside the 18-yard box to score that final goal.
Yeah.
So, and even now, we see it's flourished even more and more. The Liverpool team
yeah. Yeah.
and the Brazilian teams, even Real Madrid, their fullbacks are now
more rated
almost like midfielder forwards. They are attacking wide players.
Yeah.
And if you don't have attacking players like that, you are not going to get behind defenses easily anymore.
No.
Right.
Not in this structured way that teams are set up.
Yeah.
You need something
and
different.
little things like that is what changed the whole scenario.
That's right.
Just as, and I was saying about it, Trinidad could have tried it recently, and we failed to do it. The false nine forward. That we don't have a centre forward of real quality. Let us try the false nine. Other Liverpool has done it. Other teams have done it. The top forward is not. You just don't have him. Let us try a false nine and see if we can play with that system to be able to get by. So we have to be creative. We have to be innovative. And we have to be progressive, and we have to keep on looking at the world game and see how Trinidad and Tobago can adapt to the situation as well.
Sounding like you're campaigning to get back on the technical team.
No. Football is my life. It will always be technical.
But I want to close with talking about my panel, some of my panel's signature moves, and I want to pick out Larry because I didn't see Larry play. I was outside playing professional football when Larry was here doing his thing. But then we go on a Sunday evening when it's over 35 football, and there's Larry. And within a few minutes, I can tell he's got it. And then he has one ball. You play the ball to him, and he comes and he drops his shoulder here. Somebody bites and let it run, and he goes. And that's your signature move if you don't know what it is.
Well,
That
thank
one-
you for telling me after all these years.
Yeah.
I can now rest in peace. Thank
Now
you
can
so
rest in
much.
peace.
Yeah, thank you.
That is one of his signature moves. And
Appreciate
I'm sure
it.
people tell you about others that you had.
People have always told me that I used to turn very sharply on the field. And I had to believe them because I've heard it from many people. For me personally, I really cannot, in my mind, remember myself doing it in a game. So apparently it has to be something that I used to just improvise with at the spur of the moment, subconsciously do it without even thinking about it. But that is something that a lot of people have told me about my game, that they've seen me do that they've not seen anybody else do. You know, sharp turn. Maybe it could be close to what you were describing to me. I don't know. Yeah.
I would just like to talk about a signature move that I think the both of us had, because I saw you score a couple of goals, one against us when you were playing against Baltimore one time, and that is the toe punch. And any decent forward, I will tell you, I had that too. Any decent forward worth his salt, if you're a goal scorer, you better have a toe punch in it. Because a lot of times you don't have the
You
just don't have the time to pull your foot back and hit
That's
it.
right.
And a
That's
quick
right.
toe punch, which can go very hard at times, will score for you.
Yeah,
And I don't see fellas with toe punch anymore.
telling you, I'm
When last you
telling
see a man score with a toe punch?
Yeah.
It's true.
It's true.
Let me tell you your signature move. Your signature move for me is, and people talking about who's quick and you quick and things. Over the little 5 yards, man, you would blow by anybody quickly in 5 yards. You stop and then you're gone. Whoa. And that was, to me, was your signature move on the field. Because defenders can't even react to it and open up yourself.
Smart fella. You know. Yeah. He
Yeah.
didn't want that to operate on himself.
No, but well, you know, and speed is not always 100 yards or 50
That's right.
yards. It's
That's right.
that 5
3
yards.
yards, 2 yards. That's
All
all.
right, we're running out of time. Any closing remarks? Anybody? 1 minute? Nothing? Again, you want to say Happy New Year?
Hope Santa bring me some new clothes.
Okay, guys.
That would be a signature move.
Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys next year. Enjoy the New Year or the New Year's Eve and then New Year. And I'll see you guys next year. Thank you for being here again. ACTN, thank you for giving us the opportunity. Viewers, thank you for tuning in. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Check us out on Facebook, and we do have an email address, fieldofdreamtt@gmail.com. Drop us a line. Show is ended. Go in peace. I'm Steve David. Good night.